Welcome back to the Stretch the Floor podcast. I'm Matthew here, as always, with Venushan, and I'd like to wish everyone a happy Klay Thompson Day because for the first time in something like 950 days or something like that, since the day our Raptors won the championship, Klay Thompson hasn't played, and he's playing today for the first time. Um, Probably a minutes restriction. Who knows how he's going to be, but it's just going to be such a good sight to see Klay Thompson finally on an NBA court again.
Yeah, and it's Steph Curry's cleared to play today. I think Draymond's also cleared to play today. You know, they sat out last game, but they also did sit out with like injuries kind of. It was a rest game, but happy that they're all playing together. We can see the Warriors' big three. We can see Jordan Poole off the bench, who's going to make a pretty significant push for Sixth Man of the Year now. And Klay Thompson's back. What a crazy thing to say.
Crazy to say. There's no point in kind of speculating on how he's going to be. I'm sure it's going to take him some time to get up to speed. But the thing is, the Warriors have that luxury to they don't need to rely on him, right? Like they're already the best team in the NBA. And you mentioned Jordan Poole. He's going to have over half season playing as a sixth man, so he's going to be firmly in that conversation for Sixth Man of the Year. I expect when the time comes around to be voting for that. So yeah, it just. I don't care if Klay drops the Danny Green 0, 0, 0, 0, and 0 in 24 minutes today. It's gonna be just beautiful to watch.
Yeah, and the thing about Klay is, yeah, it is gonna take a time to adjust and stuff. But we've seen those 3-point shots in the gym and all that stuff. The shooter is gonna shoot, and he's gonna have that going for him. So I expect a decent return from him, and it's just gonna be the emotion, the hype, just that whole around it. It's gonna make one of the most fun games for the whole regular season. And everyone should tune in today if you can.
And even if Klay Thompson is just a contributor, just even someone who contributes, the Warriors probably already were the favorites to go to the finals out of the West, and that probably just solidifies them even more. And that brings up something that I wanted to talk about today. So with the return of Klay, with the return of Kyrie, at least for now, just in road games, is Nets Warriors kind of emerging as the betting favorite, the title favorite, or at least finals favorite matchup?
Yeah, they're definitely the finals favorite, but obviously that doesn't mean too much because last year the overwhelming finals favorite was Nets versus Lakers, and both those teams, the Lakers got eliminated the first round, and Nets didn't even make it the conference finals, right?
Yeah.
So injuries play a huge factor, but if both those teams are healthy, that's what it looks like because you're adding an all-star level player. Last time we saw him, he was, amazing to the second seed in the West. And you're adding an all-star level player. Last time we saw him, he was like MVP level to the second seed in the East, right? So 2 second seeds are getting all-star / MVP level players last time we saw them. And that's going to push them to favorites, right? And it's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, the Warriors return of Klay is going to be better for them because he can play both home and away games. Currently, with Kyrie only playing away games, it's going to be a little tricky, like how the rotations work in playoffs and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, having Kyrie Irving is better than not having him, even if it's for every other game. So, yeah, this definitely pushed them into favorites, and it'll be fun to see, Kevin Durant versus his old team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's something I actually wanted to mention. With any other team, I would have kind of some chemistry concerns about Kyrie only playing road games and how is that going to work and whatever. But with any other team, with any other players outside of Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving, I'd have some concerns, but I don't really have any with them.
Yeah, they're kind of they're really close off the court, and everyone else besides those three are just kind of catch and shoot, catch and lobs. It's a really simplified offense. It's not something that's intricate where you take out Kyrie Irving and, it's hard for the next guy to do what Kyrie Irving does, right? It's kind of all right, all those Kyrie Irving positions, now go to possessions, go to KD and James Harden, all right? And then everyone else is just catch and shoot or catch and lob in Claxton's situation, someone like Marcus Aldridge or whatever. So those guys are catch and lob, everyone's catch and shoot, and then it's a very simplified offense. So the Nets should be fine with him playing every other game. Shouldn't have too much chemistry issues.
Yeah, that's exactly my thinking. Actually, there was something else that I forgot that I wanted to mention that I do want to mention. A report came out that Kawhi might actually be coming back this season too, and I think we kind of expected him to come back come playoff time if they make it there, and it seems like that is going to be the case. So do you expect him to have any kind of impact, like on the
Uh,
playoff in a
I don't
first round
expect him to be
matchup or
back.
anything? Yeah.
I don't expect him to be back, especially with PG
Oh, just
13.
period, not come back at all.
Yeah, I think that report it's good. I think it said he could come back, but
Yeah.
knowing Kawhi Leonard, if PG is not 100%, right, which he's injured right now, he's gonna miss a little more time. He's expected to return back soon, but he's not gonna be 100%, right? And then I feel like an 8 seed isn't really worth, him trying to ramp up and stuff like that. I don't see it happening. I see Kawhi just being like, you know what, let's just do this next season. But with the Clippers, if he's like 100% back and he's ramping up in the regular season, like March, like a month before the playoffs, then I can see that happening. But if they're expecting it right at playoff time, like him to ramp up in the first round or something, I don't expect that to happen. So it depends on the timeline. He's ready for the last bit of the regular season. The Lakers, the Clippers become a very dangerous 8th round first seed, you know what I mean? Like first round matchup for the first seed. But if it happens like he's available for the playoffs, then I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, let's talk about one more
injury return, potential injury return, and that's Jamal Murray. He's doing
I forgot to
windmill
bring him up.
dunks,
Okay.
windmill
Yeah.
dunks, and they're saying don't expect him back February, but they didn't say anything about March.
March.
That's all they said. They said don't expect January or February, but at least the door open for March. And yeah, Jamal Murray, like he's that windmill dunk that he posted or the Nuggets posted was crazy. He seems like he seems like he's really recovering. He seems like he's itching to get back on the court. And that's someone I could see. And people are going to compare the two injuries. You have to remember, Jamal Murray missed the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Kawhi's injury happened in the conference finals. Like it happened right before. So Kawhi's injury happened a lot later in like the year or whatever compared to Jamal Murray's. So expect Jamal Murray back to be March. Kawhi is a question mark.
Yeah, and the way Jokic is playing, it feels like you give him one more All-Star caliber player, and they could become conference finals contenders. The way he's playing, which is insane. Okay, so we talked about Kyrie coming back. We talked about Klay coming back. We haven't talked about another All NBA player coming back, and that's Lance Stevenson, who hasn't played. Where was he even playing, in China or something?
Yeah.
And he comes and he signs a 10-day with the Pacers and has been their best player. And it was just announced that he's going to stick around for the rest of the season. What is going on with Lance Stevenson?
He signed with the 10-day with the Hawks before, wasn't doing anything. Then he gets this 10-day with the Pacers. Man, just Pacers, Lance Stevenson, it's just the city he has to play for. It's just the team that he needs. Because Pacers Lance Stevenson has always been better than any other Lance Stevenson. Because when he was on the Lakers, he wasn't this good.
No.
Lance Stevenson dropped 30 points with 5 assists. And he followed that performance up with 16 points and a career high 14 assists. What a guy. What a guy. This guy's amazing. Pacers Lance Stevenson is going in like lure, like man, hope the city loves him. I know the rest of the NBA loves him. I know we love him. He just makes Pacers games fun to watch. Like, and I hope he keeps it up. And I hope he keeps like a longer NBA career. Maybe give him the rest of this year, give him a little bit of next year. Because this guy's always fun to watch, and he always gets us tuned in because we wouldn't have tuned into those two Pacers games. But when we got the first quarter text, Lance Stevenson has 20 points in the first quarter, we watched the rest of that game. So yeah, it was so fun to see.
And he's always been like good for your team, just like maybe not necessarily in the box score, but in the locker room and doing like the things that don't show up on the score sheet. But he has been doing the score sheet things now, and I don't know if it's going to continue, but good for him for sticking around in the NBA. Like we talked about this last week, the number of players that have signed 10 days and been awesome is kind of mind blowing, right? And
Kevin Rowe was someone who we thought was out of the NBA, and then he just signs back, and he's been playing pretty solid basketball, and it seems like a solid NBA player again. Yeah, it's just all these veterans, all these young guys from the G League, like DJ Wilson, someone who signed for the Raptors, giving energy, dunking, blocking shots. He looks like an NBA player. And this is why we stressed this last podcast. We stressed this last off season. We stress this all the time. Please, NBA, it's time for expansion. Let's get this started.
Yeah. Perfect time. Okay, let's move on because it is officially trade season. Trade deadline is early March this year?
February 10th. So
February 10th.
literally
Okay, I'm way off by
1
that.
month
It's
away.
very close. It's 1 month away. Uh,
Yeah.
so we got a full month of trade season, and the rumors are starting to heat up. Let's talk about the Pistons first because the Pistons are in a full-on tank. And Sadiq Bey has been playing more power forward and been playing well at power
Way
forward
better.
for them. So that kind of leaves Jeremy Grant as someone who could be traded, and I do think he would be a really good player for a team to pick up at the deadline. But I got to be honest, I was looking through the teams and I was like trying to find a trade partner for him, and I couldn't really find a good one. Have you thought of any?
Yeah, Jeremy Grant's like value, like his value to the Pistons isn't as what it was like last year and stuff, because now they have Sadiq Bey who's playing better and more improved as a power forward. And then if you look forward into the next year's draft, the top three
Yeah.
picks are projected power forwards. So, with Chet and Pablo, those are the top two guys. They're projected power forwards. So projecting into the future, like if you get a top three pick, those guys can play power forward with Sadiq at small forward. Even if you get like a fifth pick, you're probably going to draft a small forward and move Sadiq to the power forward, right? So you can move Grant away, get that cap space open, maybe get like a little bit of improvement at the center spot because Isaiah Stewart and Kelly Olynyk hasn't played at all, and Isaiah Stewart isn't having the greatest year. So that cap space is going to be very valuable for them. So this is why I think the Pistons will trade Jeremy Grant this offseason. And then you can look at it two ways. Do you go to the Atlanta Hawks and get already young guys who are there, the Cam Reddish, DeAndre Hunter, get one of those guys and cap fill it? Or do you go to a team like the Boston Celtics, who really don't have that young guy, but can give you 2 or 3 first-round picks? So that's why I think the phone calls are going to be happening a lot. Which young guy would teams be willing to get rid of? Would you give us Cam Reddish and picks? Because that would definitely be the best offer, right? Or would you just say just Cam Reddish and no picks? And then you go to Atlanta, someone like Boston. Would you give us 2, 3 first-round picks? What's the protection, right? Is it going to be like top 5 protected those picks, top 10? So it's whoever gives, I think, the picks with the least protection, the most picks with the least protection, is going to get Grant. So it could be almost any team because Grant's on a pretty affordable contract, under $20 million. So really, it's hard to speculate which team's going to get him because every team wants him because he's a great player. He could play power forward, he can play small forward, he can shoot the ball, he can play great defense, he can play within a system, as seen with those Denver years. He can play along stars. He can play by himself as the first option, as we've seen in these Pistons years. He's just so versatile that every team wants him, similar to Miles Turner. Like every team wants Miles Turner. It's just whoever gives the most picks.
Yeah, see when I was trying to find a trade partner for him, it's like to me it doesn't make sense for a bad team to trade for him because he's not a star that you can necessarily build around, and it doesn't make sense for someone who's already a contender to trade for him. So I think it's going to be one of those fringe teams like the Celtics or the Hawks, like you mentioned, that like they're definitely in the playoff mix, and adding a guy like Grant without giving up too much would maybe put them over that edge. But yeah, it's kind of hard to gauge his value for me, right? Like, is it like how many picks do you attach and so on?
Yeah.
But I guess we'll just have to see what the market decides.
Yeah, it's hard to like give a boatload of picks because he is an expiring. So you don't want to be ending up giving like 3 picks, right? 3 first-round picks, and this guy leaves at the end of the 6 months, right? Yeah. It's not like a Miles Turner where he has 3 years left on his contract, right? So a team that I think is going to make a heavy push for him, and it's going to make a push for the finals, is the Chicago Bulls. I think Patrick Williams has a lot of value as a trade asset. I think him plus maybe that Portland Trailblazers pick that they got in like the whole Larry Nance trade, whatever. I think you attach that and maybe a couple seconds here and there, and I think that gets it done because I think Patrick Williams is that good of a player. But the only issue there is making the cap work. It's like, what else would they have to add to make the cap work? Is it worth it then? Because I know Derek Jones Jr. makes like $9 million, so he probably has to get added and stuff like that. But yeah, Chicago Bulls would be my favorite to land Jeremy Grant.
Okay, I didn't think of the Bulls. That's interesting, and I guess he would kind of be relegated to Denver Jeremy Grant, right? He would kind of be that 4th option, whereas coming from the first option, really in Detroit, probably not the ideal situation for him. But like you said, they're title
championship.
They're championship contenders for real. There's a lot of a team that already has a lot of offensive firepower and all go-to offensive guys, adding Jeremy Grant, who signed in Detroit for the reason of wanting to take on more responsibility.
Yeah.
Maybe there would be some chemistry issues there. I don't know. My thinking is like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, because they're already playing amazing.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. That is interesting. It would depend on how much they have to give up. Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing I can see is Jeremy Grant just be like, all right, let me just play hardcore defense or whatever,
Yeah.
like give it all my all in defense for 6 months, try to win the ring, and then go somewhere where I can score 20 points again. You know what I mean? And Chicago Bulls wouldn't mind that. If they win their ring, they win their ring. They don't care what they give up to get that ring, right?
Yeah.
So I think this could be like a short-term kind of like marriage to win the championship. And then Jeremy Grant kind of leaves, kind of like what Marc Gasol did for the Raptors. You know what I mean? He came away halfway season, played amazing defense. But then, after that, Marc Gasol, the Raptors kind of dispersed ways.
That is really, really, really interesting, because I think if you literally just add Denver Jeremy Grant to that Bulls team, it makes a huge difference. He was awesome defensively, hit some threes, hit some shots, and then
great defense on LeBron.
Exactly, amazing defense on LeBron. You add that guy, even if he doesn't do any more than he did on Denver, that would just be a huge addition. It's just, would he be willing to take that step back? But when you get traded at the deadline and you're 2 months away from playoff time, and you see that playoff run in sights, like
title,
it's probably a little easier to take that step back, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so another rumor that came out this week is the Ben Simmons rumors are heating up again. And we talked about the Hawks. They are a team that has the contracts to allow them to trade for big name players, as well as the young talent to kind of make the trades happen. And it was reported this week that Atlanta has emerged as a suitor for Ben Simmons. Now, there are several different packages that could go on here. What do you think would be the package that makes sense for both teams? And who would you say that Atlanta is now the favorite to land him, or how do you see this going down?
I think Atlanta's the favorite to land him. I think they're kind of like the team to land him, because if you look at Atlanta, the players they can't trade: Trae Young, John Collins, Clint Capella because he signed an extension, and Kevin Huerter because he signed an extension. So have those 4 guys away. And that means Ben Simmons is going to start as small forward, right? Because Kevin Huerter's shooting guard, Trae's point guard, John Collins is small forward, power forward, Clint Capella is a center. So the spacing is there, a little bit of an issue, but I think adding that defense, adding that playmaking will be great. Everyone else is available to trade. So that's DeAndre Hunter, Cam Reddish, Bogdanovic, and Danilo Gallinari. And then they have all their picks. They have this year's 2022. They have a protected version of like the Thunder's 2022, which I think turns 2 seconds, but they have another 2022 pick. You can throw a 2024 pick. And then boom, that's just a boatload of talent, boatload of picks. Like, where else is Philly gonna get that, right? Like, they're the clear favorites, and I think right now they're just discussing how much Atlanta can retain. Obviously, they don't want to get rid of all of their assets. They don't want to get rid of Bogdanovic, Gallinari, Cam Reddish, DeAndre Hunter, Okongwu, and 3 picks, right? They're not going to do that. So they're just they're in like the stages where it's like 76ers want all of it.
Yeah.
So Hawks don't want to get rid of all of it, and they're just like debating, all right, we're keeping Okongwu, we're keeping, not Cam Reddish, maybe like Gallinari, keeping that 2026 pick, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. But right now, it's the best trade package available. It has the most assets available, and it makes the most sense for both teams to do it. So they have to be the favorites to land him.
That's a home run return for Philly. Like, if they were somehow to swindle the deal of getting Reddish, Bogdanovic, Hunter, Gallo, and picks or whatever, that is just like
it's
getting
crazy.
that level. That is by far the best return they can get. That would put them into conference finals, maybe even finals contenders for me this season if that did go down. But even if they get like a fraction of that, even if they get Bogdanovic and Hunter or whatever, and like something Reddish else, that'll help them out right now. The only question for me, and I love the Simmons fit in Atlanta. You just talk about Trae Young, Ben Simmons, John Collins, and Kevin Huerter. Awesome. I don't think either of us like the Capella fit, because a non-shooting, we've seen Ben with a non-shooting center before. But if you're thinking long term, maybe in the offseason you can flip Capella for something if Miles Turner is still available. Talk about a team an exciting team to watch. You have Miles Turner, the shooting center, with those 4 guys. Crazy.
Yeah, and from Philly's point of view, they're going to be like, man, we don't want these young guys and picks. We're not building for the future. We're building for the right now with Embiid. A superstar team, like a superstar player that's trading away, like let's say Damian Lillard gets traded away this offseason,
Yeah.
they don't want Ben Simmons, man. They don't want a 26-year-old who has massive ego, who hasn't played and sat out a whole year. They don't want to take that risk. What they would much rather have is, great defending, spot up shooter, Cam Reddish, great defender, and shooter, and DeAndre Hunter. All those Atlanta picks and all of your picks. All right, let's get something talking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They would much rather take that package where it has Atlanta's picks, Philly's picks, and then 2 young guys, maybe even 3 young guys in like Maxey, Reddish, and Hunter. You know what I mean? That's a way better package for a rebuilding team like the Portland Trailblazers, for example, that's trading away their star, than a Ben Simmons and like, you know what I mean? Because you don't want to take a chance on a rebuilding team where you have a bunch of young guys and you know you're going to suck on a 26-year-old who has ego issues, right? So it has to happen this offseason, because I think when it comes to next offseason, I don't think this trade will be there for Atlanta, because I think they're going to trade Cam Reddish this offseason. So, because they don't want to re-sign him and give him an extension, right? So Philly, you have to take advantage and get this trade done this trade deadline.
And I really, really hope this happens, because man, Trey and Ben
makes too much sense.
It makes so much. It's such an interesting fit. It's crazy. Like a Ben and Trey pick and roll would be crazy. Seeing Ben like play more of a big man role. Like, my God, there's just so much potential there. I really hope it happens. So then on the Philly side, like we talked about, like you're basically you're filling every single hole for your team. You already have the superstar in Embiid, and you're already playing like okay basketball. You're trading away a guy who isn't even playing for you and getting like a team that on its own could make the playoffs, just based on like it's crazy. It's crazy. This needs to happen.
Yeah, and the only other Philly destination that's kind of been in the rumors for like Ben Simmons and stuff is the De'Aaron Fox trade.
Okay.
I like that swap personally, but I really don't think those Kings rumors are true, because they're kind of like in the play-in, and I think the Kings organization will be happy to make the play-in. So I think they're going to be pushing and buying. I don't think they're going to make a huge trade where they trade one of their superstars. I think that's a trade that might happen in the offseason, because Ben Simmons has expressed interest in playing for California, including the Kings, which doesn't usually happen, you know. So I think that's like an offseason trade. If this doesn't happen, I just can't see the Sacramento Kings trading De'Aaron Fox midseason. I just can't see that happening.
Question is, who needs to add what on what side to make that happen? Because I think maybe 2 years ago, Ben is much more trade value, but now I don't know.
If I was Sacramento, I ain't adding anything, because he clearly expressed he wants to play for the Lakers, who have nothing compared to De'Aaron Fox value, the Warriors, who aren't going to trade for him, and the Sacramento Kings. So they have and the Clippers. The Clippers aren't going to trade anything of substance for him too. So the Kings have all the leverage, right? Because they're the only California team that's offering a decent package. So I'm not adding anything. You can have De'Aaron Fox, which is a huge player, huge trade in itself. So I think the Kings don't add anything, and which is why 76ers are talking to teams like Hawks and everything else.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I'd feel so bad for Kings fans if they made this trade and it just ended up being a disaster. Somehow, because there's nothing has gone right for the Kings in like
15 years.
Seriously, like almost since we've been alive. So I don't know. I'd probably shy away from making such a risky play for them if I were the Kings front office, because like we just have the worst luck in the NBA, and like we just can't have another 3 to 5 years of being irrelevant. You know,
because they might get their team moved, because that's how bad. Like this front office has just been horrible for the last 15 years. They haven't made the playoffs, and the fans just can't afford another rebuild. Because it's too much.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's move on to some cheerier topics. Let's move on to talking about a team that is on a hot streak right now, 7-3 in their last 10. The Toronto Raptors got all of their COVID guys back. They played 2 games ago. They played their first game of the season with their entire roster that they came into the season with. That's the first time, and they looked awesome. The chemistry has been unbelievable. The passing has been crazy good, especially Pascal Siakam and Van Vliet. They're winning games when guys like OG and Scotty are having off games. And a large part of that is Pascal Siakam, who is playing at an all-star level again, but even more so than him, Fred VanVleet, who is, if you don't have him in your all-star team, at this point, I think you're crazy because he is playing the best basketball of his career, coming off of a 37, 10, and 10, his first career triple-double.
Crazy, man. Pascal Rodman, he's just diving. He's putting his whole body into the rebounding. He's defensively, like, he's just owning that thing, like, yo, I gotta be the center for this team. I gotta rebound the ball. Like, I gotta, switch. I gotta play hard. I gotta send a message to like OG and the rookie Scotty Barnes, like, hey, we gotta play hard. We gotta move hard as the front court. We gotta be a tandem, a trio. You know what I mean? Get everything rolling. Kem Birch, people underestimate how big of an impact he does because he just comes in, he's solid, man. It's solid. He does his job. Rebounds, little pot shots here and there, solid. Like, that's exactly what you need as a backup center, and it's exactly what we get. He's finally back from his knee injury. That's amazing to have on our team. And then obviously the guy who's made the all-star push, Fred All-Star, you hear it every single time in the commentary watching the games. He's just made this push where he's entered the level of these guys that are like all-star guards because he's just putting up 30 points consistently. He's taking over quarters. He had the best quarter in recent Raptors history, that third quarter against the Utah Jazz where he scored 17 straight points. Amazing. And he just crazy from three right now, man. Like, he's just becoming one of the best 3-point shooters, one of the best drivers. It's still an elite point guard defender. Like, I know other point guards don't like going up against him. He still gets in there, gets steals, gets blocks. Man, he's just a two-way player who's scoring like 24 points a game. Like, that's an all-star.
It's insane. Like, I know obviously we're biased, but I haven't really put any thought into this, but if I were naming the top point guards of the season so far, I don't think you could get too far down without naming Fred VanVleet. Like, he is 21.7, 5 boards, 6.8 assists on 44% from the field at his height. Like, his stature, over 40% from three and 89% from the line. In the last month, he's 27 a game, 5 boards and 8 assists. He's getting better as the season goes on. I don't remember the last time he had a bad game. He's just been the model of consistency, and I truly didn't expect this coming into the season.
Yeah, and if you look at the standings, like, the Bulls are the number one seed. They got 2 All-Stars. Nets got 2 All-Star. Heat got an All-Star in Jimmy Butler. Bucks got an All-Star in Giannis. Sixers got an All-Star in Embiid. Cavs got an All-Star in Jared Allen. And it's the Raptors. Everyone in front of them has an all-star. The Raptors are an all-star too. Like, we have the seeding. They're on a 5-game win streak. They're a couple games behind the 6-seeded Cavaliers. And our best player deserves a spot to make that all-star game. And if you look at the media, I actually do see a lot of the media saying Fred VanVleet is an all-star. So that's good to see. It kind of seems like Fred just needs to continue playing this way for the next couple weeks. Even with a slight reduction, it just seems like Fred VanVleet is an all-star. The Raptors have made that push because they were 14-17 before. Then at 14-17, you're not getting an all-star. But they won 5 straight, 19-17, 7th seed. Fred VanVleet is an all-star. No question about it.
No question right now. When we did our quarter season all-stars, we had like debate between Randall and Fred. And you said, we got to see come all-star
seeding
time.
Is.
We got to see what the seeding is. That right now they're even. If the Raptors go up and the Knicks go down a little bit, then it'll be Fred, and that's exactly what's happening.
Exactly what happened,
right?
Yeah.
So I think you would agree with me right now that Fred is an all-star. And talking about Pascal, I think this is the first time since pre-pandemic, since before March of 2020, that he has been fully in shape, fully healthy, and like fully like up to NBA speed, because if you remember, he got injured right before the pandemic and then everything shut down. And then he was obviously horrible in the bubble, but he's the kind of guy, like we talked about, feeding off the crowd energy. Now they're playing in an empty stadium again, but their away games are not empty stadiums. And then he got COVID last season, lost 15 pounds and was not good. He had a nagging shoulder injury, got off-season shoulder surgery, missed training camp this year, missed the preseason, missed the first few games of the season. Had to take that time to kind of get up to speed, and now I think he's fully up to speed. In the month of January, only 4 games, granted, he's 22 points a game, 9 boards, almost 6 assists, and he's shooting 50% from 3. And like you said, he's making all the energy plays, the rebounding, getting into the paint like he used to. And he's just been ultra efficient, hitting mid-range shots at a better clip than I've ever seen him hit. And he's looking like all-star Pascal again.
Yeah, and he won't make an all-star game this year because we only got one all-star spot probably as a 7th seed. Yeah, that's going to be for VanVleet. But what also like isn't noticed is his role changed massively from last season to this season.
Yeah.
Like he was playing with Aaron Baines and Cambridge. They were always playing at center. And now with Scotty Barnes in, we were asked, Pascal Siakam, you have to play center. And it took him a while to get adjusted to that, right? Yeah. How am I going to take on, having a bigger opponent, having someone bigger to guard, having someone slower guarding me? And it seems like he's just getting adjusted to that. He's figuring it out, and he's figuring out this like front court by committee type system that we have. You know what I mean? Yeah. Where we have Scotty sometimes switching on the centers. We have OG sometimes switching on the centers, right? So it took a while to figure out, but he's getting it. His health is back. Everything was good. He said he was fully asymptomatic during his last COVID little reach that he had. And he said he didn't lose any weight or his body didn't go through massive changes. So that was good. And it's finally figuring out. VanVleet has took this next step where he's an all-star lock. We still have 2 other 20-point scorers in OG and Pascal Siakam. We have the Rookie of the Year and Scotty Barnes. We have Gary Trent Jr. playing elite defense, trying to make that push for our All-NBA second-team defense. Man, the Raptors are back, and it looks like a fun young team that's going to be right in that play-in 6th seed, trying to go for that. And it's definitely fun to watch.
Yeah, I'll even take that a step further. I think if they're all fully healthy, and you have Fred VanVleet, Gary in the backcourt, and then the, like you said, front court by committee with the main guys being OG, Pascal, Scotty, Cambridge playing awesome, with Boucher having a good game here and there, right? Yeah. And Precious sometimes having a good game. And then you throw in like Utah Watanabe, and then like Delano Banton, and the Raptors have like an 8-9 man rotation that they can ride the hot hand. If there's guys not playing well, they can make up for it. They can go bigger if they want with Kim Birch. And there's just a lot of ways they can go. And I'm looking at the standings right now. I don't think they're in that Miami, Milwaukee tier, obviously, but Cleveland, Philly,
they're definitely reachable.
I think they could. I think they're definitely on par with those teams, if not better, when they're fully healthy.
Yeah, and I just hope they kind of get that 6th seed, because I think versing like Kyle Lowry in the first round would just be so amazing to see. Yeah, because like we had tickets for the Kyle Lowry return game, but sadly that's going to be played at an empty stadium. So it'll be amazing to see a first round matchup where Kyle Lowry returns to a full crowd.
Yeah, when when the Clippers came to town and they were playing in the empty stadium, and they showed that Serge Ibaka tribute on the video board, and there was no one in there, and he wasn't even watching because like he was
no reaction,
to, like, wave to the fans or anything. That was just so sad. And I hope they just hold off on the Kyle Lowry festivities until like he actually plays in front of a crowd. But I don't know, it just sucks because you had tickets, and obviously that's not gonna happen. That's what, early February? It's like
February 1st.
February 1st, yeah.
No chance.
Yeah. But the Raptors are playing tonight. They're playing against Jonas Valanciunas and the New Orleans Pelicans. So we'll see. Another return. Yeah, we'll see if they can keep it going, make it 6 straight. Only a game and a half back of Cleveland for that 6th seed, which is crazy, because the Raptors were. I was close to kind of giving up on them as being in the playoff mix, just kind of looking towards the future earlier. So it's good to see them back in form.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying trade Pascal Siakam for picks, and just kind of like rebuild around Scotty, get those picks back for Pascal, draft like a center, stuff like that. But now, I think now none of the Raptors fans really want to trade Pascal anymore.
Yeah. I think they can coexist, to be honest.
It looks
Scotty
like
and Pascal. It looks like they can. Now you have to have the roster to do it. You gotta be able to do this front court by committee. But so far so good. It's been working out for them.
Yeah, and you got to have a good backup center, which so far Cambridge, when he's been playing, has been able to bring that intensity, bring that size, even though he's not that much bigger,
Yeah.
but he's
Yeah.
wider and a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
So he's been able to hold the ground down.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That does it for this episode. This was actually a surprisingly eventful week. When we recorded last, we were kind of worried that we weren't going to have anything to talk about. But luckily, this was an awesome week of basketball. And everyone, please tune in to the Warriors game tonight. Klay Thompson is playing for the first time since June 2019. I'm definitely going to be tuning in. That is going to be just such a good sight to see. Going to make me so happy. But again, thank you for listening to this episode. We'll be back next week like we always are. In the meantime, you can check us out on all of our social media platforms, Instagram at Stretch the Floor Podcast, YouTube, STF Clips for all the best clips. Most importantly, subscribe to the podcast feed, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get them. Leave a like, rating, and review because it all really helps. And other than that, thank you again, and we will see you next week.